Ready, Doug? We're going to take you through a whirlwind. You ready?
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Very excited.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you. I said, okay, let me see, Doug, head of engineering. Let's make sure we get these questions right. Let's completely throw them off. And then you're like, give me the questions. I'm like,
Well, I just want to make sure I'm representing you all well, and Andrew had the hook up here, so I want to make sure I represent his good judgment as well. So yeah,
nah, you're definitely doing that. You're definitely doing that. So, but we're just excited to have you on board just because for us it's always great to talk to engineering because usually everyone's asking us, do we have access to people like this? Can we talk to them? They are usually on the very um, low end of being able to talk to someone like you. So it's a privilege. And then we get to have the video and all the content and information, and then probably come back and harass you some more later on.
that's great. Yeah, anything you need.
All right, so we're just giving it some time. Hi, Andrew.
Good morning.
Just giving people time because I just launched it a little bit earlier to get it started.
Good afternoon, Shannon. Hi, Derek.
Hey, Andrew, good to see you.
Likewise.
So, how's everyone doing this morning?
I'm great. I'm feeling good. I've just started my coffee. I know Andrew isn't as big a fan of coffee, but I'm just waiting. It's going to hit the bloodstream. I'm going to be better in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, so it definitely was like a pleasure for you to join us. I know that now, as an engineer, you're always a very interesting person because you hire talent. You are actually the person that actually says, we're going to build this, maintain it, and keep it going. So it is such a privilege to be able to talk to someone that is essentially the architect and the maintenance of any organization, correct?
Yes.
All right, just make sure we got our roles correct. Now, with that being said, we're going to jump off of that because we know that's your current responsibility, but we need to know, how did you get here? So let's start with, what was the first piece of technology you ever broke and, you decided to fix it? Because I find with, engineers just like yourself, my brother, working at IBM, he was always breaking his PS, station, whatever that my parents gave him. And then he'd go put the thing back together again and they'd be complaining like as he's breaking the part. So I know you did that. So confess. What
Yeah.
did
So
you
so if we go way back, I mean, technology's got to be a bicycle, right?
Yeah.
I remember my first BMX, and then uh, being able to see my father with tools, doing his thing, and then be like, okay, well, those tools are there. I guess I can just take this thing apart, and I was able to put it back together because wasn't a very complicated machine, right? It has two wheels and a chain and a. I never took apart the crank, which is where it really gets bad. But just taking the wheels off the bike, and then later, learning progressive growth. When you have the handbrakes, what do they do? How do they work? And the gears and all that sort of thing. So being able to like learn my way through harder things, and then of course anything mechanical. Was definitely taking them apart, but I might not put them back together. Like you'd have little RC cars and stuff like that. Definitely would be the kid that would take all the motors out of everything and then attach them to batteries and just like walk around with motors.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a thing, but yeah, I used to like to do that. Wires, calculators, anything. I had a little kit. It was my Ghostbusters kit actually. I had dreams of like, oh, we're gonna make Ghostbuster stuff. So never really happened. I just accumulated a bunch of broken things, and that was a lot of fun.
It's not too late for the dream, though. If you keep accumulating one day,
No, yes, I have many kids to accumulate stuff for me now. So they're well onto that journey.
Okay, so I know when we first got on the call, you're like, I'm a coffee person. Don't talk to me to my coffee, right? Is there a particular specific brand of coffee that you're like, if I don't have this, just stay away for the next 5 hours?
I'm actually pretty basic. I'll say like a light roast bean, freshly ground, and then in my AeroPress, and that's bliss to me. Just black, basic, streamlined.
You know,
Yeah.
you guys go for the juggler with that black coffee with no sugar, no nothing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
y'all are the most dangerous people on earth.
it's like
Because
if you try hard enough, you can taste the caramel.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm like, whoa, that black coffee, yeah, y'all are good. So now my next question to you is, okay, so at work, you don't really get to do that personal get to know you business, because we are kind of like closed off, but you're not at work right now. So what's a hobby or interest your team would be surprised that you know?
I look at this question. It's really a great question because I could just talk for hours about stuff. But the problem with that is everybody already knows because I've already talked to them for hours about stuff. So I think maybe some of the weirder things that I've been getting into lately is they call it rock hounding, and basically it's like looking for minerals in nature, and so there's different clubs and stuff you can join, and basically it's like there may be known deposits of minerals. They're not valuable. It's not like sapphire or anything like really
Right.
cool, but like things like fluorite and those sorts of things. So here I am talking about uh, rock hounding, and so here's a naturally formed fluorite crystal, which
Oh, that's
is
so dope.
yeah, it forms like this prism in the ground. I didn't find this. This is a specimen, but
Wow.
the idea that you could go out and find something as wondrous as that just sitting on the ground is super interesting to me, and so yeah. Anyway, I've been kind of getting into that a little bit lately, but time to get out in nature and is limited, right? So try to
Yeah.
take advantage of that and when I can, and yeah, I mean, just kind of mess around with it a little bit. It's kind of fun.
That's
And
so dope. I would have never actually thought about it because, we go to the sea and we collect, little sea rocks and the shells and the things. That's what I do. So, everyone's like, you're forever collecting these things. Don't you have enough? No, I don't. The rocks are nice and smooth and, it's been cleaned by the water and the sand. And, so yeah, I could imagine being out in nature and being able to find that. That's amazing.
yeah, I
That's
like Noel's question here about having a home for them. People ask what to do. I'm going to say put them on the pile for now, but I've learned of a new hobby, geocaching, which you may have heard of, which is kind of the same thing as you go try to find a spot, and there might be a little cache of treasure. And my idea is just to go to geocaching, but put all my rocks in those things, and then they're back out there, and people can enjoy them too. And it's kind of catch and release kind of thing.
What's the, funniest or weirdest bug you've ever encountered while you were out there?
That's a good question. So the one probably that had the most impact is I'm going to call it a new kind of millipede. Really gross thing. It looked, at least for where we are, I'd never seen them before. It looks like just like an earthworm with legs, very like pink and tubular and real weird looking. My kids were freaking out, and that was super fun. And yeah, I was surprised by these things, and there was a lot of them when we were out there, and that's not very far from where I live. So yeah,
Now I'm going to do a play on words because, when we talk about bugs, we talk about bugs in engineering, right? So we know about bugs in nature, and I tend to run from them just because, I don't like nothing creepy, crawly, touching, blowing up my skin, making me have hives, right? So now
yeah.
let's talk about bugs in computers, right? So you've had many years of experience and you've seen many projects, you've seen, many different platforms, right? So let's talk about what is the weirdest bug you've seen?
I love the segue. Very very well done. Um, I think the one that is like kind of fun was we had one of our team into using our system, and they put their headphones down on their desk,
Yeah.
but it was actually on their keyboard. And then so what ended up happening is their system kept sending requests in over and over and over, and that kind of brought the system down unexpectedly. Like it just wasn't able to deal with it. But what I really enjoyed about that is, number one, it's like surprising that would happen, but also it really allowed us to go and do a deep dive on, like, well, why did this actually take the system out? And then we were able to like identify a number of different areas on why it was failing, and basically fix the root cause, fix the architecture, and now we don't have to worry about somebody putting their headphones down on the keyboard anymore. But it was a detailed investigation, and we were able to go a lot deeper than you might, which was something I really appreciated about working with ExperiencePoint, is like having the latitude to be able to investigate this thing to the level that we're able to solve multiple. I want to say multiple root causes. I know that's probably going to make someone cringe, but there were a number of things along the way that was like, hey, if we fix this is going to increase our resilience. And so, that changed some of the architecture that we were doing, changed some of the stuff in the back end that we were doing, and that was super cool.
There's like another bug analog here that is like the at the microscopic level. This reminds me of like Fleming, the scientist who was observing through a microscope, and a piece of bread mold got on his dish, which was the nexus of antibiotics back in the day. That was your piece of bread mold. Someone putting their headset down. But like, what is it like? Yeah, never waste a crisis or an accident or something like that. And that kind of signal to investigate more deeply here, even though it was unrelated, it could fix meaningful things. Feels like a lesson.
It feels like a heavy lesson, like still. I mean, some of those lessons, even with it, is like trying to figure it out. And more power to anyone, because I'm not a builder, but I've had to do system conversions and, trying to figure out what the issue was. Yeah, that's been a nightmare. So just like real life bugs, I like to run away from that too. But we end up spending hours and hours and hours on it. So yeah, I get it. So now, you know what? Let's go to tech buzzwords. There are, for as long as I've been in the tech space, for about maybe 20 something years, there are certain words that people use and I'm like, please just stop. Don't, can we just find another word for that? Because it's so popular. You're hearing it every time someone's on the, talking, especially when cryptocurrency just became like a very, good topic. And all of a sudden you heard all these, here we go with the words again, because of this and that. So if you had a choice and they said, you now are the magic conductor, delete a tech buzzword, which one would you choose?
Yeah, I think you gave me a little bit of foreshadowing here, but really it does have to be crypto dash currency. I think, because and it's probably not for reasons that you think, though. It's like, I really like cryptography. I've read books. I've read like books on like, okay, this is how the codes work, and this is how how you build systems and compose systems of it. I think it's really beautiful. It inspires my it inspires me to do stuff. Like, I like to explore and tinker in that area, and never roll your own crypto, but it's fun to like kind of understand. And then when when I say crypto, it means something very different than the mass, the cryptocurrency and the crypto bros and all this stuff. It just makes so I don't know if that's going to like de-rank our video on YouTube, though, if we keep talking trash. I think we've got to like promote it somehow.
Yeah. Yep.
But I feel like when I see it, it would just probably be better without it.
I agree. So now I have a question on here that you didn't know that I had a question on, but it just made me curious because of something you had said earlier. So here I go with my off-chart convo.
Yeah,
so now, Derek, as a head of engineering, right? And you have 3 lovely children, correct?
4.
4? Okay, 4 lovely children. How many of them are actually going to follow in your footsteps? And how are you getting them to actually like tech? I mean, some of us automatically like it. Are they completely involved or not involved? And, what are those thoughts as you're watching them grow up?
I will say that, you know, everybody's an individual. Um, and certainly all of my children are definitely individuals and very different from one another. Um, my oldest daughter, you know, has kind of like dabbled on it, but you know, has never really like dove into it. But you know, with her different hobbies and stuff, it's really awesome to see her call on your younger brother to be like, hey, you know, I need a piece of code. Can you work with this on this with me for her own like you know, she's into like costume making and stuff like that. So being able to add technology to that is very cool. And but you know, again, there's like that piece of um, um, the foundational piece of the technology for me is like the curiosity and really wanting to explore something that does something wonderful, right? And so if you take that piece, I think that's very common amongst all my children, like you know, wanting to explore the you know, the wondrous. And so, you know, I look at my, you know, my other daughter, and she's very much into like art and storytelling and facial expressions and like how do I characterize people and, you know, stuff like that. So you know, it like I still see an analog between that, even if it's tenuous. Certainly my other son, he's just all in. You don't really need to do anything. He's just, you know, he's full in uh, uh, on on technology, onto you know, Rubik's cubes and that sort of thing. And then my younger son, he's more into the physical world and really just being out and doing things and exploring his environment that way. So yeah, it's really great to see. I don't really feel a need to say push them into technology. I think it's like really support their interests. And you know, if it's technology, that's great. If it's not, that's okay too. I feel like what I can do, you know, as an expert in technology, is probably provide more resources for them to be able to explore. So being able to be like, okay, well, um, here's probably a weird technology choice. It's like everybody's laptop has Linux, right? Like nobody uses
Mhm.
Windows, nobody uses Mac, uh,
Mhm.
and that's just kind of like the base environment here, right? And like it's not, oh, you choose Linux or whatever. It's just like nobody even questions it. It's like just it's just the computer, right? And so
Right.
so there is that like you know, opportunity for them if they want to go in. Like you can go into Linux and do all kinds of crazy stuff, right? And so like it's already there for them if they want to do that.
Mhm.
And
I
yeah.
love, I love the fact that you said it's just a curiosity, and they all have that. Because I believe that no matter what sector you choose in life, it starts with curiosity, but more so with tech. If you don't have curiosity in tech, you really won't go far. But it also allows you to build with that curiosity. So no matter what your children choose, they're going to be successful just because you've already allowed that creative space for them to just be able to be creative, and that to me matters. So now, you know, with that being said, if your engineering journey were a movie, right? What genre would it fit in? And who would be playing you?
Right. And so like full disclosure, I'm not a huge movie buff. But I feel like I'll start with it would be a hero's journey, and so that captures like every movie ever. That every great movie would be like, you know, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, you know, all of the zeitgeist, and that the idea is, um, you know, kind of starting out as a schlub, going away, and then coming back magical, and solving the big problem. So really, you know, you, there's that idea of, especially well in a lot of different areas, but like you know, that idea of imposter syndrome around like, can I really do this? Why am I here? Is it really me? That sort of thing. I wouldn't say that's something I really struggle with, but you know, you see that kind of um, in particular in tech as well, is like, am I good enough to do this thing? And
Yeah. I was going to say, isn't that an element of human nature?
that's
Uh,
right. Yeah.
you just don't have fear. Like, if you're not a fearful person at all, and that was never in your life, God bless you. But
That's right. That's right. So I feel like, I've gone out and done quite a number of interesting to me anyway, varied things, and so being able to come back to the team and being able to build what we're building right now, it really feels magical, and I would really hope it would be Fred Armiston that would be my character, because he's very say self-aware, so I would uh, or I'll say self-awareness is like an undercurrent in the thing, but it's also ridiculous at the surface. So I really appreciate that, and so hopefully I wouldn't take it too seriously, and people would have a laugh at my expense.
oh, they wouldn't. I mean, just the way you are now. You said you collect rocks. You don't think that's funny? like,
Oh, I
and
think it's hilarious.
not in a negative, because I collect rocks at the sea. So, we're both weird together. But, and a lot of people will see it as like, okay, y'all are some weirdos. And that's fine. I don't mind the weirdo categories, because I think it makes you interesting in life. So, yeah, y'all could continue to laugh, but we're here being creative, building. So my next question is, when it comes to like analogy, and as people are trying to explain something very technical to a non-technical stakeholder, what's the strangest analogy you had to use to explain it yourself to someone who is non-technical?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I feel like with this one, I don't really have a good analogy. I feel like a lot of the time it's got to begin with empathy and like trying to understand their point of view, and and try to really frame things from their perspective, and get into it that way. So in terms of analogy, we have to be able to find something relatable and common ground, and so nothing. I'll say there's never been one that's like, oh, that was crazy. What were you thinking? Um,
What's an analogy you find yourself using a lot these days? Like Derek, you're probably having to explain like maintenance tech debt, possibilities with AI. What's a high frequency analog you're using right now?
yeah, I think I like the analogy of a kitchen, like a professional kitchen. You do your evening service, right? Which is usually like a design sprint or a feature sprint or a product release or that sort of thing. You've done all your research. You got your mise en place. You've got everything ready to go. You go and you execute. And at the end of the night, what you're left with is a huge mess, hopefully, because everybody's eating their food and everything. And um, there is that analogy of being ready to start the next push, being ready to start the next day, and what does that mean is like that kind of that consolidation phase around putting everything in order, and so that you can execute efficiently and well, to a high standard the next time that you go out. And so I've been really advocating to start to think about, um, on the back of a feature sprint or launches, being able to look at this as like we absolutely do need consolidation, because we're going to learn things along the way. We start out, we think we have a plan, and then no plan survives contact with the situation. So um, we're going to learn from that plan, and often a misstep is like we didn't have time to take those learnings and bring them back and start again. And so really being able to consolidate those learnings, which is the dirty dishes, which is so funny to think of learning as dishes and something you want to get rid of, but it's actually a gift. It's like, oh, what a joy to get these dishes, right? So now we're getting into a weird analogy, right? And
That twists the kitchen analogy of it. Yeah,
yeah, so so we so
love
we
these
have
dirty dishes.
so we've got this knowledge at the end, and boy, what a waste if we don't, take that back and take those learnings back into our efforts before we start anew. and at least the high priority things, and yeah. So
If we could riff on this just for one more second, so like there's so much interesting stuff I hope we get to that is kind of reactive in your work. How do you sniff out like the bugs? How do you do that investigative work? But a huge part of your work is convincing other people to be more proactive with technology like maintenance, exploration, etc. Can you elaborate a bit, or maybe help folks that might be newer in their tech careers? Like, how do you balance the proactive versus reactive? Do you have a split in mind? How do you approach that?
so the question is, how do I help the team to be more proactive versus reactive? Well, I think again, it's like a culture piece. Like we said with my children, is like providing them the opportunity. And so to be proactive, we need to make space for that. And so another part of that is autonomy. So having the space and the autonomy to be able to think ahead and be able to see things and do those things is like uh, putting conscious effort into creating those spaces. So when we look at what we're building at ExperiencePoint, we definitely have a large part of our energy directed to like how are we making things better and simpler and easier in the future, right? And so that takes energy, that's effort. I like to think like removing a thing takes energy, right? Like removing a feature is a feature that you need to develop is kind of an interesting like side note. But like, yeah, so being able to, number one, a high level, recognize that like the cost of a project isn't like the upfront purchase cost alone. There's like the lifetime running maintenance cost, and that is probably your dominant factor. And trying to understand, can we minimize that lifetime running maintenance cost in a way that um, like minimize that maintenance cost in a way that still promotes the quality that we want to be operating with, and also the I'm sorry, I just got something here. Sorry, so we're going to promotes the quality, and also makes it enjoyable to use for the people that need to do that maintenance work, and be in there. Another different analogy might be like this, the situation with auto, like cars. We've seen like being able to repair your own car to it being like very difficult to work on if you wanted to do that, right? And so like, will you do the maintenance yourself if it's difficult and contorted? Probably not. You're probably going to take it to a professional, which kind of comes into some other things. So incentives maybe might be the good segue there. We when we look at you have the space, um, and then the other piece is like providing or incentivizing people to realize that it's in their best interest to be doing this type of work, and like this is something that's worthwhile to do. And so being able to put that type of work up front, and champion it and recognize it, celebrate it. Oftentimes like the joke is, of course, like the best IT is like the one that you're not talking about, because it's something that's background. It should, again, just be an environment thing, is like it just works, and we don't notice it and it goes away, right? And it did the nice thing for us and it went away. So maintenance work is like that. It's not a glorious place to be. Is like, hey, the system is still running, guys, that's great, right? So but we did a lot of work. So it's really interesting, but the side effect is, if you're not doing the maintenance, of course, we know what happens is catastrophe. and
Exactly.
and so really trying to be ahead of that and be in a state where life is enjoyable, because you're not having to deal with catastrophe on a regular basis.
Right. So, thanks everyone for joining us. Feel free to ask questions. I'm going to go into my next question because we did talk so much about the team and some of the things that you're doing with the team. Let's now talk about, what a day in the life of Derek looks like. I had to take my time to say that because I was stuttering over myself. But so yeah, I want to know what a day in your life looks like, and I want you to talk about the fact that how like when your boss comes in, that they're going to do a certain something, they're going to say a certain something, or there's just signature things that we know that our bosses are going to do. So I'd like you to incorporate that into a day in the life of. So walk us through your day.
Yeah, so typically it will be starting with meetings. Usually we'll have like a team stand up where we're talking about our highlights, from before and our priorities for today, and if there's any blockers. So typical stand up. I feel like as we're talking about those meetings, sometimes we'll do very detailed like technical meetings around like, here is this thing that we're trying to build. What is the correct shape and way to build it? Other times it'll be like, we've got these, we're talking with stakeholders, understanding needs and requirements. And so I would say probably the classic move, the thing that makes the team eye roll, but I lean into it, is like the idea of like, let's zoom out and being able to take that bigger perspective. Like we'll, in engineering, we'll very often get so far deep into the weeds on a very particular specific thing, and then being able to like take that step back and look at the whole picture. That's not just the very detailed feature thing, but the people that are using it, the context that it exists in, with other systems, that's that type of thing. So being able to go in and out of detail, I often like to do that with the team, and be able to just come up with better solutions at the end of the day.
Okay, so you mentioned the team again, and this is one of my okay. Let's go back to the team and let's talk about the fact that I want to come work with Derek. If I wanted to come work with Derek and I had no experience, but yet I wanted to be in engineering, right? We're going to go through that scenario. I wanted to be in engineering. Where would I start? And what would you tell me to do as someone that is like looking to work with, an organization like yours? I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with ExperiencePoint, but if you love design thinking, that's one of the factors that they offer, but they're a very like, I don't even have the words to describe. So I'm going to let like people like Andrew describe what his experience point is like so that you could see why I'm saying, well, I want to come work for you. How do I work for this company? So Andrew, can you tell us a little
Yeah,
bit?
the Experience Point is basically is a training company that has digitally enabled workshops. So there's technology that like there's instead of learning about change management from hearing a university lecture, we have basically a video game to help you learn about change management, and the technology is what differentiates us. So there's a lot of roles from devs. Front end creative. Derek could explain a lot more about that, like the roles involved. But what about if we start with the engineering side, Derek, for a shop like Experience Point? Where would someone start to build their skill? What's a career path look like?
Yeah, that's great. I think we can call back to some of the earlier conversations, right? And that, like at the foundational level, for me is like the curiosity, passion, and growth might be like how I value the people's approach to things. When we look at the organization, we've often had like hungry, humble, smart as like some things to think about. So as a profile, so when we say like, who is this individual? It's somebody that's really willing to really dig in and get interested in something and like be passionate about it, bring that positivity, to the table every day. And so I think, and that's probably across roles, really, within the organization. When we start to talk about the technology, again, I think it's this will probably come out weird, but I think it's like lean into odd choices, right? And if the team hears this, they're probably going to go, "Oh, Derek, you got to zoom out of this a little bit." But and it's not that you should make odd choices, but it's like, again, maybe tying into that curiosity is like having a very like good sense of like what is out there, what is different, what is interesting. If you're coming up through the help desk route, you're probably going to be into corporate workflows, and you're going to have a very specific career path in IT around like the support, and there's a kind of a like a career path that way. With ExperiencePoint, we're a smaller business, and so what we need on our team is like versatility and adaptability, and like, so when I say like lean into odd choices, is like that's going to give you like so much more perspective on like what could be, and so I really like that. And then again, it's like you still need to know the foundation stuff, right? Like you can't be totally out in left field, but so I think there's like some degree of leaning into these choices a little bit, understanding them, but also like really looking at approaching your work as a craft, and like becoming like a master crafts person, and would be like the ideal at the end of this thing is like I've went on my hero's journey. I've acquired my tools. I've picked out some weird stuff along the way a little bit, and that allows me to magically solve the problems at the end. So examples of that stuff may be like when we talk about the technology choices, some of the things that we do, we get say specific technologies now. We talk about PHP wasn't so esoteric back in the day. We still are a PHP shop today, but what was interesting at the time was looking at some of these frameworks that we're using to build the applications, and again, is like this may seem like an odd choice when you look at the whole playing field, but it turns out that when we're looking at using for example Symfony framework as the foundation for our stuff, it's been a good choice for us to, like, number one, know that this thing exists at all. Number two, that it's a wise decision, which could only be made by having a broad sense of what's out in the field.
I saw your eyes light up when you said symphony. Like I just saw like boom, like this bright light of whatever. So what does symphony do? Explain to us in the normal world. Because I saw you like, I'm so glad I have this.
Well, it's kind of table stakes now. I would say at the time that we were adopting it, this was a newer way to develop, but you probably take it for granted. Yeah, that's right. So you probably take it for granted now, but the idea of package management, right? So if you're building a piece of software, you may depend on some third-party libraries, open source stuff. So in the JavaScript world, you have NPM to handle your vendor dependencies. So the Symfony project also built Composer, which was a package manager for PHP. So if we're using different libraries to achieve functionality, like for example connecting to email services, or stuff that doesn't directly drive the business value but is part of the overall application, the Composer tool that was part of PHP being able to lock that to specific versions and manage upgrades and do these types of things that ensure quality across the project. You know, were really good. Were really good choices that I wasn't involved in at the time. Symfony also is. So we talked about Composer as the tool. Symfony gives us basically a framework to build our applications on. So when we look at again, that foundation is like, you need all these different pieces to be able to build a website or a web application. And then we can put our business layer on top of that of like, oh, well, actually we care about, you know, workshops and people and content and those types of things. So we're busy worrying about, you know, the business layer, and Symfony takes care of like, here's how you return an error. Here's how you do logging. Here's how you do, you know, all the ancillary stuff. And here's where you should put your code and give us a structure so that, you know, when we go to onboard somebody, we can say, hey, look, we use Symfony framework. Have you used that before? And, you know, and so they'll be able to, you know, leverage that and leverage the whole support infrastructure that goes with that.
Thanks, Derek. I love the explore all as much as you can and lean into the weird things that might be useful sometime in the future. Back to the career pathing a moment. Like you mentioned, one path for someone that's in IT or interested in engineering might be like the help desk. I've heard you say before things like, for some people, they want to get out from behind the help desk and into the server room. What if people in the AWIT community are interested in considering those kind of options? How do you develop either that flexibility or mine that career path?
Yeah, hey, that's great. Thanks for bringing me on track there, Andrew. I kind of drifted off. It comes back to that, like, lean into weird things, right? So, you know, on the one end, if you're going to go through the you know, the regular career path, it really is going to depend on a mentor or somebody that is able to see that those, like, that curiosity, that passion, and be able to support it and give you opportunities to explore things within the organization. But without that mentor, to be able to say, hey, like, I'm really interested in this. I want to learn about this on my own time, and start to build things with things that support your curiosity. You know, like, have a project in mind, make sure that it's satisfying, you know, some kind of itch, and then build that thing. So, you know, when we look at, you know, for a particular user, it may be like, hey, you know what? I've got my internet service provider, right? And they gave me this device and I don't know anything about it, but I know it gives me internet. And like, a next step there may be like, well, I'm going to make my own firewall, right? And all I need for that is a computer. And then going and like, okay, that's going to be my project now, is I'm going to go and make my own firewall. And that will give you exposure to that type of thing. The same thing might be like a file server at home. Is like, you know, I've got my firewall now. I would like to set up a file server, and it could even still be on the same computer, right? Like, it doesn't have to be, you know, you're accumulating or collecting. All of my questions make me seem like I'm a hoarder. I'm not saying collect computers. You could just have like one computer, and, you know, split it up, and this will give you experience with virtualization and, you know, those sorts of things. So trying to find like those pieces and explore and play with the technology is your best opportunity, I think, to really grow. And it's like, the fact that you're doing that on the side may help within the organization for somebody to see the potential, the curiosity, the passion. You can talk about things at a different level because you've had those experiences, and you've learned some lessons along the way.
That sounds like an important one. Is if no one's giving you a project, you got to create one, and that's how you build your war chest.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I'm listening to you, and I'm like, okay, you know, if I were to break it down, number one thing is like, stay curious, right? So it's like, stay curious because it gives you opportunities to open up different platforms and want to learn and be able to, you know, essentially apply what you've learned. And the only way you could do that is to first have some type of curiosity about it, you know, and that is super helpful. Besides that, I learned that you're an awesome, you know, family man, you know, who encourages your kids to, you know, do the best, but also be in this space where they have the option to, you know, follow in their father's footsteps. But that's not the mandatory here. You're saying to them, just be creative, you know, be productive, and it's good because you could see the outcome of that, right? One of the things that I liked is that we deep dived into, you know, what it takes to do operations where you're at. And, you know, it's not always easy balancing, you know, the staff and then the systems and, you know, fixing bugs and, you know, all of that good stuff that comes with it. And then not only that, but being able to talk to people that are looking to enter into the space. And, you know, you've done a wonderful job of bringing us there. So now I'm going to ask you a really, really serious question, right? So brace yourself for that. What app on your phone do you secretly use the most? This is a serious question.
Well, I feel like it's secret because everybody wants me on WhatsApp, and I really don't want to go there. So I use Signal for messaging, and you know, it's pretty well like my wife and my sisters, and I think that's it. My frisbee team. And then that's it. That's the only people I can convince to use this thing, and everybody's like, get on the WhatsApp. So yeah,
Now I'm
it feels like a secret.
right. I love Signal. I have Signal too, but it's funny because yeah, the world is pushing you towards WhatsApp. And now that we say that, what other secret apps do you like as an engineer that you're like, if you guys don't have these apps, I'm kind of wondering, you know, are you really into tech? So do you have like a little list that you like?
Yeah, the again, YouTube isn't going to like me for this one, but Android app is FreeTube. No, sorry, that's the Linux app. Is NewPipe, and so it's an alternative client to YouTube. And so what it allows you to do is manage your subscriptions, get rid of the you know, I don't even know what is the trending view on YouTube, and like all of those different things. It's really useful for curating you know, your input, right? When you look at called the algorithm, like a lot of stuff has happened in the YouTube space to make uh, that I don't think is in the best interest of the individual. When we talk about, like, it's really all about serving ads and grabbing your attention, and so like our incentives aren't aligned, right? My intention, my use of YouTube is to you know, to grow and like, or be entertained, and so this allows me to curate YouTube the way that I would want to do that. And so this isn't going to be around forever. This is a moment in time where I have the opportunity to use the platform like this. But it's really good in terms of being able to, like, you know, sign up for you know, technical talks or technical producers. A really good one is Usenix. I'll type that out, but
Yeah,
and you know, these are like technical conferences. They just dump, like, you know, 20 videos from the conference, you know, and they'll do that like 4 times a year, and you'll get all these videos on, like, um, yeah, what's happening, and so when you look at, like, how's that going to show up on the algorithm, it is never going to show up on the algorithm. It does not rank. And then even when you're like subscribed and ring the bell and done all this stuff, is like, well, you've had to do that everywhere, and so it's just, you know, lost in a sea of noise. So like being able to curate you know, what's coming in, I think is really a useful and valuable thing.
I love, love, love the way you think because as consumers of products, we tend to just go because it's flashy and it does what we need and everyone's on it, right? And you're like, nah, you don't want to be where everyone's at. There's better systems, there's better controls. So what other, can you list one more that we could kind of take away from you? That's a
Well,
good to have.
I gotta look at my phone now. So if you can bear me a moment.
Oh, that's not a problem. I love when you guys share because there are things that we wouldn't even think to look at because 9 times out of 10, as consumers, we're being pushed, products. And yes, we're curious and go search it out. But when we don't, we land at YouTube.
So this might be like a bit of a more of a technical one. There's one that I use is it's ConnectBot, and so this is a remote terminal application. So this allows me to SSH in, so using remote access into my machines. So I can connect to my servers here at home from around the world, but I can also proxy my network traffic from my Firefox browser, which may be a different one on the phone too. So I can tell Firefox to use ConnectBot. It will encrypt my traffic back to my home ISP and then make requests there. So I don't have to worry about different ISPs like snooping on things that I'm doing or collecting analytics, building profiles, all those lovely things. But additionally, it lets me access my 3D printer from remotely as well. So even though my 3D printer is behind my firewall, I can punch in and then point to this thing, and then I can access it from behind the firewall without needing to, need like online services or those sorts of things. So
Okay, so I'm just gonna ask, like, can you send us this list when you get back home in front of your work?
yeah,
'Cause,
that's right. There's
like,
Andrew's been doing a great job of doing that. So
yeah,
so it's
and
already
I'm
in
just
the
saying,
chat.
like, any others that were not mentioned, we would love, to see what it is an engineer looks at, because you're automatically killing the noise. So any app you have on your phone is like, no, I'm not using it because it's got too much going on. But you on your phone is like, now this gets me what I want. I can develop, I could do this, I could do that. So can we get a list of what's on your phone?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I would love that. So, we're getting ready to wrap up, guys. And, we have less than 5 minutes because he is in charge of engineering. He can't stay with us forever. So, I'm going to wrap up with some questions. But if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt and, ask away. So, so feel free to, mention anything you wanted to as we get ready to wrap up. So now back to you, Derek. What is the one book? Are you a reader?
uh, yes, I
Time.
try to be. I'm getting much worse at reading. If, like I start to look at a book and then like 3 pages in, I fall asleep. So
I just thought that maybe there might be a secret you had in there somewhere because I've
yeah,
not picked up a book in a while. So we're all digital book now, right now. So
yeah.
anyway, if then, so what advice would you give in this day and age as we're moving in tech and as everyone is hearing, 50% of the job market is going to be completely wiped out. So what advice would you have for us as we're entering 2025 in August and we're seeing that all of our worlds are being flipped upside down, but technology is the only consistent that we know is going to maintain? So, which part of technology should we be looking at?
Yeah. I'm gonna turn that a little bit as like when we look at like the needs of the future, is like we're always going to need somebody who is passionate about what they do, that cares deeply about what they do, that's going to bring their, I'm going to say, their best self, to the table. Like so just being a like a human who cares, I think is valuable outside of technology. And then if you start to look into the technology with that as the premise, there's still lots of opportunities, I believe, to be able to do this stuff, because at the end of the day, someone needs to put their name on it and say like this is a choice that was made for these reasons, and I'm responsible. So somebody who has a sense of responsibility and being able to own their choices, I think is a good way to put that. I feel like, the at least today, the the reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated. We still do need lots of people in these positions to be able to do these things. And you will not be able to make those choices without learning the lessons, right? And so I think, for the individual, I think it's still important to understand the impacts of AI and be able to use AI effectively. That's the underlying buzzword that wasn't said specifically, but like the 50%, I'm assuming is because of AI, and like being exposed to those tools. Like I talk about my son who's really into technology. Like he's like he just grab ChatGPT or whatever it is and do the code. Like he doesn't even like it's not even a problem for him. It's just part of the workflow, right? And so yeah. Anyway, I think that there there's somebody who still needs to learn the lessons along the way on why a particular approach isn't the appropriate approach, or being able to even a different way of looking at this. A colleague said to me is like, it used to be like thoughts are cheap, execution is everything, but now it's like thoughts are the value and execution is cheap, is like the flip side. So being able to one of the things that AI may allow us to do is build a lot more stuff, right? We can build stuff much faster than before, right? And so, and this also ties back to that conversation of maintenance. Is like the cost of acquisition is not the operating cost. And so the danger with it is building way more stuff than you could possibly support, even with the help of AI, or like, you still have to put money into the machine to make it go. Right. And so you have to be able to balance that thing over top with the amount of cash going in and the amount of cash coming out. Right. So there has to be some level of discernment and responsibility for any of that to make sense. So I think, on the short term, don't worry about it, because, and when I was growing up, we had, it was the .com crash, and then it was, we're outsourcing, and and like technology used to be like the worst career to be in. Everybody, why would you do that, right? Like, do you like getting punched in the face? Like, so it wasn't until like 2010, 2011, 2012, as the the U.S. market recovered, that it was like, oh, this is actually a good career trajectory for somebody, and so, like, I kind of see that as this is another one of those situations where there's a lot of fear and anxiety about is it worth going into this for now? And it's like, well, if it's something that you really care about that brings you joy, then absolutely, like, it's your life, right? Do something that brings you satisfaction, and don't worry about everything else. Like, that's out of your control.
Right. And I'm going to ask you a question that most people are like, well, why should she ask him that question, right? Because he's doing the job. But how happy are you with where you're at in terms of your job? And not to measure based on what corporate says, but based on the things that you have said to yourself when you entered this line of work and the impact that you wanted to make. To sum up, how do you feel now about where you're at, what you've done, whom you've impacted, and why?
Yeah, I'll start by saying I'm super happy. Like, I really feel, I'll say blessed for the opportunity to express myself in my life the way that I've been able to. So one of the things with technology is that it's very disconnected from people often, right? It's like the wall. Like, even right now, I'm looking at a wall of glass and talking to you. It's like literally a wall, right? But one of the things that you know, working with ExperiencePoint has brought me is like, you know, we start with like human-centered design, right? And so we're talking about from the get-go the you know, the people and the impacts that we have. And so when we look at you know, what we're doing now, the ability to affect change, that's super gratifying to me. And you know, I haven't said this out loud before, but when I had signed up for ExperiencePoint, I was moving from a you know, I was in a partnership, and you know, we were consulting and doing like custom work and like custom services basically. When I joined ExperiencePoint, it was like, okay, I'm going to hang up my hat and go join the corporate world. And you know, in some level that was a defeat for me. But it wasn't in the sense of like the organization that I chose to join, you know, we're not, you know, your typical corporation, but what we are allowing is for the corporate world to make a better world for everybody more quickly, that's putting people at the center of the things that they're doing. And so like indirectly through technology, my path is helping to make progress, right? And so that is super satisfying. And then of course, like, you know, it's you know, the people along the way, and you know, work with really great people at work, and you know, and yeah, it's really satisfying to be able to be a part of that.
Thank you. You know, that's such an amazing summary of what you said, because when I think about people like yourself, I see you as a change maker, only because generally technology involves you being open and curious. And when you actually meet someone like yourself who you're still curious, you're still open, you're still trying to save the world, you're still trying to save the planet, you know, in nature, you're still staying grounded. And I think that that's so important when we come across people like yourselves, because you're actually making us stick to the things that matter and not get caught up in the noise of technology. So it's such a breath of fresh air to talk to someone that says, hey, what are y'all worried about? You know, like Noella said, hey, he said, don't worry, I'm not worried. And I tend to agree with her, because it's refreshing to hear someone like yourself. And then not only that, but the most refreshing part about our conversation was that you didn't sell out. And what I mean by sell out is we can get so caught up in the technology component that we're teaching everyone and say, go jump into it, without saying, no, 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 it's great, you know it, but let's take it back to your curiosity. Still go learn your foundation. Still know, you know, still go know your basics. And there's many more products that you could still, you know, learn with it. So I just want to thank you so much for reminding us that, you know, first and foremost, you know, stay true to the education component, because that's what's going to get you far. And then also, you know, stay true to yourself. You, like you said, go outside, go touch a tree, go pick up a rock.
Yeah, there's wonder everywhere. In the technology is kind of the micro, the macro. You find the magic.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Thank you. Y'all better quote that on our post. Find the magic as a summary for today's engineering meeting. You know, so thank you so much for joining us. I know we've kept you over time and we have to cut it short, but you have dropped a lot of amazing gems and you've impacted us, as always, in our community with people like yourselves that say, stay curious, you're going to land at your right place and continue to get your education. And those are, you know, our pillars. So thank you for reminding our community that, hey, you know, you're not learning something new, but you should always be prepared to have an open mind to learn. So you reminded us of that, and you reminded us to, you know, go back and have fun again, be that kid again, enjoy nature. So thank you for coming on board.
Fantastic. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to hang out today. This has been a delight. Thank you.
All right. So, all right, everyone, next week, same time. Andrew, I didn't mark it into your calendar, but I'm going to go into your calendar and disrupt it some more. So this way we know that you're on board and we can get more amazing speakers. Everyone, thank you for joining us. You have an amazing day. We look forward to office hours next week. Otherwise, signing off. Everyone have a good day.